New question, the member from Leeds Grenville.
Thanks very much, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. The people of Leeds Grenville have seen your beer sales plan, and it's left them with a bit of a hangover.
Oh, I guess so.
They know you can't manage it, and it's just an attempt to distract people from your disastrous Hydro One sell-off and your inability to manage our economy. But what they're most upset is that rural Ontario has been left empty-handed with your half-baked plan. But true to form, though, you haven't missed an opportunity to tax us. Premier, why are the people of my riding good enough to pay your $100 million beer tax, but get none of your 450 licenses?
Well, Mr. Speaker, and I would just say to the member opposite, I think he knows that there were inherent unfairness. There was inherent unfairness in the model of the beer store that had evolved over time, Mr. Speaker. And as Ed Clark looked at the assets in this province and realized that that inherent unfairness could be addressed, craft brewers, for example, Mr. Speaker, around the province were telling us repeatedly that they couldn't get access to shelf space, Mr. Speaker, that they couldn't grow their market share. So the changes that Ed Clark has proposed and that we are adopting will address some of that unfairness. But, Mr. Speaker, what we know is that in some small towns and rural communities, if there is a grocery store and a beer store, Mr. Speaker, and an LCBO or an agency store, Mr. Speaker, that distribution network is working quite well for those communities, Mr. Speaker. And what we don't want to do is set up a situation where actually the grocery store, a grocery store in a community or a beer store would shut down, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary.
To the Premier. Premier, you know, the fact is none of your licenses are going to communities under 30,000 in population. You know that that cap shuts out my entire riding and most of rural Ontario. That means an innovative grocer like Neil Kudrinko in Westport can expand and hire new staff. Not because he doesn't have the ability, but because you say his store is located in the wrong part of Ontario. It's the same thing for Lynn Lamming at Kitley Grocery in Toledo. You're picking winners and losers based on geography. That's wrong. And if you were truly the Premier for all of Ontario, you'd make sure that in this afternoon's budget, you would change that 30,000 population cap. Will you do that and allow businesses to compete based on merit and not their postal code?
Well, Mr. Speaker, you know, what the member opposite is saying is that he thinks basically we should just open up the distribution network and beer should be available everywhere, Mr. Speaker. And that, just be careful, because when you look at other jurisdictions where that has happened, Mr. Speaker, what you see is the beer price goes up by about $5 for a 2-4, Mr. Speaker. So the fact is, we are trying to find that balance of keeping a distribution network.
Thank you.
Speaker, when Ed Clark and his team looked at the distribution network and they looked at the prices in other jurisdictions, Mr. Speaker, what he determined was that if we were to go to some of those jurisdictions and have beer everywhere, Mr. Speaker, the price would go up. So what the Tories are saying is they...